Hey guys, what's up? It's Hannah and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by the title of today's video, we are going to be doing my January and February and half of March, I guess, reading wrap up since I'm uploading this video in the middle of the month. I do wish I read a little bit more than I did in the last couple of months, but I was in a little bit of a slump and that's okay because that happens. You have quite a few books to talk about and I tend to ramble, so I'm gonna cut myself off now and I'm just gonna get into talking about the books. The first book I read this year that kind of helped get me out of like the little slump I was in at the beginning of the year was The Spanish Love Deception. If you've been on BookTok at any point in time, you've probably seen people talking about this book. It's fake dating, one bed trope, enemies to lovers, but I say enemies kind of loosely because it's very one-sided enemies to lovers. Like they don't both passionately hate each other. And I feel like it's very much marketed as that when that's not what it is. Anyway, so the plot of the book is that Catalina's sister is getting married in Spain. She lives in New York, I believe, yeah. She lives in New York and her sister's getting married in Spain. And in a panic, she lies and tells her family that she has a boyfriend she's going to be bringing to her sister's wedding. And there's a whole, like, reason in the story that she, like, has to have a boyfriend. Like, she can't show up without a date. So Aaron Blackford, who is the love interest in this book, is like, oh, well, I'll go to Spain with you. But he's also the sworn enemy. And so the first half of the book is literally just them, like, arguing about who's going to go to Spain or not. Or if he's gonna go or not, and then the second half is actually the fake dating. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 because it's called The Spanish Love Deception, but for like a solid half of the book they're not even in Spain or like fake dating yet, they're just arguing about it. I think I liked it a lot more in the beginning than I did in the end, just because I feel like the ending kind of fell flat for me, but it was a fun read for sure. I was in love with Aaron Blackford for like 95% of the book. So overall, a 3 out of 5. I feel like more of it could have taken place in Spain, and I feel like everyone's like, oh, it's enemies to lovers. It's really not. It's very one-sided enemies to lovers, but you'll see what I mean if you read the book. The next book I don't have with me because I read a digital copy, but that book is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. To me, this book is perfection. 6 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved Archer's Voice. If you haven't read Archer's Voice, you need to go read it. So the plot of Archer's Voice is that Bree moves to this small town after some big tragedy happens in her life and she just needs to get away and like recuperate or whatever. And she bumps into this guy outside of the grocery store and it's like a very awkward interaction. Like she drops a bunch of stuff and he's helping her pick it up and she's kind of trying to make conversation to make it less awkward, but he doesn't respond and he walks away. But it's one of those things where she kind of instantly is like, there's something about him, like he was attractive, whatever. So she makes a couple of friends in town, she's asking about him. She finds out that it's Archer and he's kind of like the town recluse. There was like a tragedy that happened to him years ago, so he kind of just like hides away and doesn't talk to anyone anymore. And Bree being Bree is like, well, that's not right. He was nice to me, like he helped me out or whatever. So they kind of start forming this bond and you just watch their relationship grow throughout the book. But it is absolutely the most precious thing I have ever seen because Archer can't speak. So part of the book is that Archer can't speak and that's why no one really makes an effort to like go talk to him. They kind of think that because of his accident he's kind of like not all there mentally and he can't talk, so no one makes an effort. But Bree is there and she makes that effort and she kind of shows him that he is a person too and like there's more to him than what everyone says. It's just, it's so good. It's so good. And the plot twist, I don't think I've ever cried more violently over a plot twist in my life. Like Mia Sheridan knew what she was doing. It is absolutely the most precious book. Archer Hale has my whole entire heart. 25 out of 10 would recommend. Next, I read the entire Folk of Air series, which is The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. I'm really going to talk about the first book because I don't want to spoil anything that goes into the second and third book because obviously you need to read the first book to understand that. The Cruel Prince is a fantasy series, which I didn't think I would end up loving as much as I did. I loved this entire series with my whole heart because I'm not the biggest fantasy reader. I'm much more of a rom-com and mystery kind of gal, but one of my best friends absolutely loves this book, so she was like, girly pop, you need to read it. I listened to the audiobook version of this. I didn't actually read it, which also got me really into audiobooks and more into fantasy because I think the fact that I was able to listen to it and not have to read through it kind of helped. But On to the actual book. The Cruel Prince is, like I said, it's a fantasy series, so they live in fairy, which is just kind of like another dimension hidden off from the mortal world, if that makes sense. Jude is the main character. She is a human, but she lives in fairy with her human sister Taryn and her half-human, half-fairy sister Vivi, and they live completely in fairy. And Jude wants to prove herself. She wants to be a knight. She wants to belong in fairy. Like she wants to belong. She wants to prove her worth. Yada yada yada. And Cardan, our token cruel prince, is the Prince of Fairy, and he absolutely is cruel. The entire first book, I hated this man with a passion. I didn't understand why my friends loved him so much. But then this big, bombastic side-eye event happens, and Cardan and Taryn have to team up, kind of. And they still hate each other, like, hate each other to their core. But you kind of see, like, their relationship kind of start to grow. This is definitely a fantasy book with a hint of romance in it. Am I 100% focused on the romance aspects? Yes, I am. It's kind of hard to explain The Cruel Prince just because there's so much happening and I'm not very good at explaining world building. I think most of the plot and like the rising action definitely takes place in the second book, which is why I like it the most, because the first book does have to focus so heavy on world building. This was a really bad explanation. I don't know how to explain The Cruel Prince. 10 out of 10 would recommend. It's like they don't want to have to work together, but they keep getting thrown together and like they're forced to work together and be partners and they don't trust each other at all. But they have to trust each other kind of thing or nothing's gonna work. This is pure enemies to lovers, and I mean enemies in the purest form. Like Mr. Man was trying to kill her and stuff, enemies to lovers. Anyways, I love Cardan Greenbrier with my whole heart. 10 out of 10 would recommend The Cruel Prince. I think I gave the whole series. I gave the first book a 4 out of 5, and then I gave the other two 5s out of 5s. But just again, short attention span. Lots of world building. That's a me problem, not the book. And after I finished The Cruel Prince, I hit a really big reading slump, so I was having like a really bad couple of weeks and I didn't read anything for a while. But I recently got out of that slump, which brings me to the last 2 books I have read so far, and the first of those 2 is The Deal by Ella Kennedy, and this is the first book in the Off-Campus series. This is a hockey player romance. I'm not gonna lie, I tried to read this before last year and I DNF'd it because the writing is very Wattpad-y. It's very fanficky. I love a good fanfic, but it was very like not as like eloquent as I'm used to in terms of writing styles, I guess you could say. So I ended up DNFing it just because it felt like I was reading a very badly read fanfiction. But then this year, my friend Allie loves this book, so she was like, you need to like give it a chance and try it again. So I did, and I'm so glad I did. Because is it written like a fanfic? Yes, I stand by that. But is it written like one of the best fanfics I have ever read in my life? Absolutely. So this book follows Hannah, who is the main protagonist. I will say it also very much helped that her name is Hannah and she's a brunette, because I'm Hannah and I'm a brunette. So did I feel like I was reading about myself? A little bit. Hannah is absolutely in love, obsessed with this one guy on the football team, but she is like not super popular and he's one of those guys that's very much like socialite kind of guy in terms of like college, right? And Garrett Graham is a hockey player. He's like D1 athlete, like star of the school kind of thing. And him and Hannah are taking the same class. Everyone in the class fails this test, but Hannah gets an A. And Garrett does not pass this test, but he needs to pass the test in order to keep playing hockey. So he makes a deal with Hannah where if she tutors him so that he passes his test so he can keep playing hockey, he will like fake date her, I guess, to get a ball player that she's interested in to, gain interest in her because he sees her with another guy, because that's how men work. Through like these tutoring sessions and them having to hang out, she's very irritated with him at first. You see their relationship kind of progress from like tutor and like student kind of relationship to like genuine friends, and then you see how that progresses into like them gaining feelings for each other. But it feels very natural. Like it doesn't feel like an awkward friends to lovers kind of progression. It's a very natural strangers to friends to lovers kind of thing. Definitely very Wattpad written, so if you can't handle like not eloquently not eloquently written books, I don't know if you guys would like this as much, but I do suggest just pushing through it, because once I finally got into like the goodness of the plot, the writing style didn't matter that much to me anymore, because I absolutely love this. I lied, I forgot a book. Hold on, guys. This book I actually DNF'd. If you guys watched my Sunday reset routine vlog or my getting my life back together vlog, I forget what I titled it. I went to Barnes & Noble's and I got Funny You Should Ask by Eliza Sussman, because if you guys have seen that viral TikTok clip of Andrew Garfield's interview with that one girl where their chemistry is like off the walls insane, a lot of book talk was like, this book is literally that interview. So I picked it up because I was like, I love Andrew Garfield and like that was a really cute dynamic, so I wanted to see how it played out. But it's kind of a similar thing to the first time where I read The Deal, where I absolutely just did not mesh with the writing style at all. I think I got to page like 50, 60. This also is just giving really like Wattpad-y, like I just couldn't deal with the writing style, I guess, and that's why I stopped reading. But I also feel like the characters were very two-dimensional, and the main character was giving kind of pick-me energy, I guess. I can't really talk about the books, I didn't finish it. But I think it's just, I didn't like the writing style, so I ended up DNFing Funny You Should Ask. Maybe I'll give it another chance in the future, because I felt the same way about The Deal at first, and I ended up really liking it. And the final book that I read this month, I actually just finished it before I started filming this video, is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I'm not typically a classics kind of galley, like I don't reach for it unless I'm reading it for school, but my friend Uma was like begging me to read it. I bought this in the same vlog as I got Funny You Should Ask. I would recommend listening to it with the audiobook on YouTube because that's what I did and it really helped me get through it. But I absolutely loved Pride and Prejudice. 4 out of 5 stars just because my attention span started getting kind of short. But while it had no business being as entertaining as it was, like Elizabeth Bennet is a whole mood. It's giving Victorian era enemies to lovers is the best way I can describe the relationship between Elizabeth and Darcy, but so much random drama happens. If you guys have ever seen Gilmore Girls, I feel like Pride and Prejudice is if Gilmore Girls took place in the 1800s. It's just a lot of like family drama and like Elizabeth hating Darcy, but Darcy being in love with her. And 4 out of 5, Pride and Prejudice was very entertaining, and now I can go watch the movie. My rambles for all of these books were kind of all over the place, so I hope that was some coherent form of explanation, but that is every book I have read so far in 2023. I think I'm gonna do these videos every couple of months depending on how many books I read, so I hope you guys like this video and are looking forward to those kind of videos to come. I post every single Sunday, so you can subscribe if you want, stick around, I don't know. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!